It's easy to assume the best way to understand trade secrets and figure out how to use them to increase value is to begin with a legal definition of trade secrets. In practice, this might be the worst thing you can do, so we won't do that. Instead, what we're going to do is get you into the right state of mind. You learn the appropriate trade secret context through examples, all of which will hopefully lead to an understanding of how to use the information that already exists in your business to create value for your company and for your investors. So here's what we're going to cover in the next hour or so. 1, the importance of being able to properly position your trade secrets in the world of IP. 2, we're going to have a look at a few examples of famous and not so famous trade secrets to see what lessons we can learn from them. And 3, I'm going to talk about the paradox of trade secrets and then resolve it for you. Finally, I'll reveal why it is that trade secrets have become so popular in the last few years. So let's see how trade secrets fit into the world of intellectual property. Briefly, what is intellectual property? So IP is an umbrella term that covers several legal rights granted to people or companies for their creations of the mind and the intellect. So here's a simple way to think about it. If I create a name or a logo for my product, then I can file it with the trademark office as a trademark. If it gets registered, I can then stop others from using my name or logo. Now, if I write a book or software code, then I own the copyright in the book or code without having to file the work product, because copyright exists once the work is created and you don't need to register it. Now, if I create a unique design for some user interface, then, what we call UI UX, then I can file the design in the patent office, and if it gets registered, I can then stop others from using my design. Now, if I create a new process or invention, I can then file the method to the patent office and it gets registered. And then I can stop others from using or selling my product or process. Now, if I create a process that is difficult to reverse engineer and that process has commercial value, then I can also choose to protect it as a trade secret. And unlike patents where you have to reveal the invention or process, trade secrets can be kept secrets indefinitely. Now, before we get into the details about what trade secrets are and how they relate to your business and create value, let's have a look at some examples of well-known trade secrets. Starting with Kentucky Fried Chicken, the original recipe of KFC, the famous blend of 11 herbs and spices, is kept a trade secret until today, and only a handful of people know the exact recipe. Another one is Google's search algorithm. Google's algorithm is a closely protected trade secret, and its search results efficiency is what makes the company's search engine the most popular in the world. The algorithm is constantly being updated and improved to provide the best possible search results. Both these trade secret examples, KFC and Google, are very well known. And so is the next one. In fact, it may be the most well-known trade secret in the world. Not only that, but the Coca-Cola example is going to help us understand the trade secret paradox. What you see in the picture is the Coca-Cola vault in Atlanta. Over the decades, the story of this trade secret has acquired a lot of glamour and hype. But as trade secrets' origin stories go, it's perhaps not all that remarkable. But it's very teaching, it's a very instructive example, as we're about to see. The formula of Coca-Cola was invented by a pharmacist named John Pemberton. John was wounded in the Civil War. He was shot and also slashed with a sword. And because he served as a chemist and pharmacist before the war, he had access to morphine. This is how he became addicted to morphine. He knew his morphine addiction was dangerous, so he began experimenting with opium-free medicine. He used coca leaves and another less-known ingredient called the cola nut, which contained caffeine and sugar. This is how the formula of Coca-Cola was invented. And although the formula was created in around 1886, it was only around 1919 that Pemberton actually wrote the formula down on paper. He documented his formula because he needed to present proof of the formula to a group of investors who wanted to buy his company. Eventually, the investors took out a loan from the bank to purchase the company, and as collateral for the loan, they deposited the written record of the formula. So, what can we take from this? First, in order to have any kind of conversation about value, John Pemberton needs to get the formula out of his head and onto a piece of paper. Why? Because if the formula had remained in the head of John, it would have been difficult for him to convince others that the formula even existed, let alone had value. And because if the formula had stayed in the head of its creator, then control over it could never have been transferred to the investors or the new company or anyone else than the creator. In other words, this principle still holds true today. For a trade secret to exist, it cannot remain in someone's head. It has to be documented. And this is where it gets a little confusing. After all, the name trade secrets strongly suggests that the trade secret is information that needs to be kept a secret. But it's the opposite. Documentation is required to bring it to existence and allow us to protect it. Now, the irony, the paradox, is that a trade secret is only valuable if it exists in a format that can be shared with others, even if only a few are exposed to the secret.